Hi everybody, this is AABailey, and this is my Assignment 5 revisions and rationale over my unit of instruction for Assignment 4. I cut slides out of my Assignment 4 slideshow, so if you are interested in more information about how my lessons align to the Kansas Learning Standards or more information about the activities I used, please go back and look at my Assignment 4 slideshow. For my unit of instruction, it was a first grade math measurement unit where we worked on measuring lengths indirectly by iterating the length units and then recording the data. I used the backward design model. I think this works really well with standards-based grading. I like that the basis of the model is that you look at where you want to be and then go back to the beginning and build up from there. This unit of instruction was about using non-standard measurement tools. So I split it up into 3 different lessons. In the first lesson, the focus was taking different types of steps. So the first graders took baby steps and giant steps and backward steps, and then they used a baby step as a non-standard measuring tool. In the second lesson, we talked about comparing steps to each other, and then they recorded their data on a bar graph. And then the third lesson was an enrichment activity where they learned how to use a standard measuring tool. They measured their steps with a yardstick. The 2 ISTE standards that I focused on were the Empowered Learner and the Knowledge Constructor standards. I really wanted the students to work on problem solving and independent work before seeking help from me. I analyzed their abilities as we went. I scaffolded instruction and modified my next lesson based on their understanding of the lesson that we just finished. I also used 2 adaptive schools check for understanding strategies, the 3-2-1 and the thumbs up, thumbs down. In my first lesson, I did a task analysis activity as part of it, and I was really excited about this because I thought it would be really great for the kids to practice reading and following directions and working independently. And I modified the task analysis so the words, I felt like they could read all of the words and follow the directions. I tried to make it really simple, but it really just was too much. This was something that I feel needs a big revision for next year. I still like the idea of doing it once the kids got the hang of it. I thought it worked really well, but we need some work before this. So some background work, maybe introduce it at the beginning of the year, break it up into 2 additional lessons. Something I really thought went well. We read part of the book Measuring Penny, and the kids just loved it. It's about a little girl who uses non-standard measurement tools to measure her dog and then the neighborhood dogs. I felt like it was a really great activity for student equity. It would be something a teacher could use to really make sure that the kids had the background knowledge necessary to begin learning what they needed to learn for the unit. For lesson 1, as I said, the kids made their own measuring tools using the baby steps. And this was just turned out to be very complicated for them and abstract. A revision I will do next year is that we will have the kids walk around the room and practice taking different types of steps and counting their steps and measuring that way. But for the actual non-standard measurement tool, I'm just going to make little baby steps of different sizes and let the kids use those instead of creating their own. I felt like for first grade, this was just very abstract. And looking back on it, I think it was cognitive overload because when they got to the end of the lesson, even though they understood it, you could tell they were tired. They'd had to think really hard. Do I think that these tasks yielded the appropriate evidence? I do. I felt like they learned a lot. I think I could make it better using additional things like paper clips or boxes, but I definitely felt like they learned what they needed to. It was just a lot for them. Like I said, like cognitive overload, I think. When we started filling out the measurement sheets, or the recording data sheets, there was just too many different types of steps. I felt like we only really needed a couple of different examples and they could have walked away with a good understanding of what we were doing. For the lesson 2, they filled out these little bar graphs, and that went really well. It provided great discussion on why everyone's weren't the same length, why some people filled in 2 or 3 squares and some people filled in 4 squares. For the enrichment activity, this was actually based on a second grade math standard where we used a standard measuring tool, and I felt like this really brought everything together. I felt that it really involved a real world application of their skill and their understanding. The kids had a great discussion on how much easier it was to know how long something was because everybody used the same measuring tool. I think this could be better next year, though, even if maybe we had another lesson after this, a problem solving activity. Maybe if they had a toy and they knew they needed to find a box the toy would fit into, and then they could measure how long the box needed to be. I felt like there was a variety of formative assessment formats in this unit of instruction because of my observation and the fact that it was a very hands on activity for the kids. So we could discuss things, I could observe them, and I felt like the kids were given many different ways that they could show me they understood or they still had questions. Overall, I felt like the unit went really well. The kids had opportunity to self-assess, they had opportunity to reflect. We had discussion before, during, and after each lesson, and I felt like they learned a lot about measurement. So, overall, it's a unit that I think I would definitely teach again after making those modifications for next year.